Hello, Unbrick Me here with a look at the full RC mod for the LEGO Technic Concrete Mixer Truck set number 42112. This set is truly incredible and it's packed with a lot of features just out of the box. However, I figured why not also make it motorized, and that's pretty much exactly what I did. After you motorize this concrete mixer truck, it's gonna be 10 times more fun to play with, I guarantee it. Motorizing the concrete mixer truck was not something easy for me to do. It certainly wasn't as easy for me to do as the Dom's Dodge Charger. And it also really took me a long time to perfect all of its functions and make it, really nice and pretty, and just to keep everything aesthetically just the way it was, but also add plenty of functionality. It took me a while. It took me like 2 full days to figure everything out and put everything together, so I am really proud of the way this mod turned out. I did not use any instructions. I really didn't have a guide or a plan as to how I was gonna motorize it, so I was just kind of winging it, and it's a huge achievement to motorize a complex LEGO Technic set like this, and right now I want to just show you exactly where I put the motors and how you can motorize it yourself. So after I've taken off the concrete mixer itself, you can see that here inside the chassis itself, I've put 2 large power functions motors in there. They're basically driving the 16-tooth gears. Both of them drive one 20-tooth gear, so it's a gear reduction ratio 16:20. It does give the vehicle a bit more torque, and also because it does use 2 large motors instead of 1, it does pack quite a punch. Unfortunately, it is limited by LEGO's battery box, how much power it actually puts out, so I do wish I had a buoys or some sort of third-party option, to make it go super duper fast. But I still think that with LEGO's electronic system, it goes quite fast. It's decent for me. Now you may be wondering how I did the steering. The steering of this set is actually really complex, so this was the most difficult part for me to figure out. Under the front cabin over here, you will see a servo motor kind of lying down flat over here, and basically to the front of this servo motor, I put 2 12-tooth gears to the front, and also removed the little 1x2 orange piece that was sort of acting like a limiter there. With the servo motor, it's kind of useless, it's kind of pointless to have that there. So I just removed it, replaced it with a 12-tooth gear, and behind the servo motor, I still keep the orange piece. However, to the sides, I, removed that part and just kept the one 12-tooth gear there. It's really important to notice here that I did put 2 limiters here from either sides over here. As you can see, these limiters sort of act to prevent the steering from turning too much. If it does turn too much, I've noticed that the back set of wheels or the front set of turning wheels can get out of sync with each other, so that's why I had to put the limiters there to kind of prevent any gear slippage and just to keep everything nice and neat. So that's why I put the limiter there. The way I motorized the concrete mixer itself is actually pretty cool, pretty fascinating, because I use just one medium motor, and essentially what it does is it connects at a 90-degree angle like this, as you can see, and then that motion transfers to this 20-tooth gear, and then it just transfers over to this turntable. So it is nice and simple. The top section over here where the water tank is, I actually modified the water tank itself just so that I could fit the 2 infrared receivers in the place of the water tank, and I did my best here. It could be better, obviously, but I still think it looks nice. I still think it does look like a water tank. I did put some white bricks on the top of infrared receivers just to kind of make it fit in more with the water tank. And this model uses 4 motors in total. 2 large motors, 1 servo motor, and 1 medium motor, resulting in a total output ports needed of 3, since, you can stack the cables and power functions. I'm looking at you, Powered Up. Please make your cables stackable. I actually tried to keep most of the aesthetic details just the way they were out of the box. For example, this crank, you don't even need it. It's not even connected to anything anymore. Instead of the gearbox, there's the 2 large motors. but I still decided to keep it just so that way it resembles the original model more. The reason this set was actually super difficult for me to motorize is because I had to literally disassemble the entire concrete mixer truck and then put the whole thing back together. So my advice for you when motorizing this set is so that as soon as you build this set, don't even completely build the chassis by the instructions. Try to kind of use a combination of your imagination and the instructions so that along the way you also add the motors just like how I showed you. Obviously, you don't have to add the motors exactly how I showed you. Just, you can use a little bit of variation, but when you build the chassis and adding the motors as you're motorizing this, as you're doing this upgrade, I think it's gonna save you a ton of time, because if you're just kind of to break it open and really put the motors in there, it's just not gonna work. Like, you kind of have to disassemble the whole thing. So while you're assembling it for the very first time, just add the motors to the places I showed you, and then you'll be good to go. And if you would like to see a full review of the concrete mixer truck, I have that linked up over here. This is your Brick Me here, and I'll see you in the next one.